Friends, good morning and welcome to another episode of SPTV News Live. Now, today's story appertains to the civil trial, the upcoming civil trial in 2025 that includes the Jane Does of the Danny Masterson criminal trial, as well as the husband of one of the Jane Does named Cedric Bixler, suing the Church of Scientology and Danny Masterson for alleged harassment and stalking. So let's get right into today's story and the latest update. Actually, before we get into this, let me make a prediction. This is the second motion so far that, since this case was given the green light to go forward, that Scientology has tried to file motions or do some shenanigans to stop this case from going forward. My prediction is this is just the beginning. They're going to file every motion and their mother in this case and do everything they can to stop it. And if and when it does go to trial in 2025, they're going to give them such a payout, such a settlement, that not a single witness will be heard in this trial. That's my prediction. Because if this information that these gals and Cedric have to share about the alleged stalking and harassment comes out about Scientology, let alone what comes out with Danny Masterson, if that's allowed to come out, Scientology is putting themselves in a position where they're that much closer to being exposed for the mafia, criminal, gang stalking organization that they are, hiding under a religion. And they're going to do everything they can, and they have the money to do so, to make sure that that doesn't come to light. So here's the latest shenanigans as of this morning. This is hot off the press from Tony Ortega's Substack. Link in the description box. And we're also going to go over the document itself, the lawsuit. So Scientology whines that the Jane Does leaked info worse than Tom Mesereau did. And here's Tom Mesereau on the right, and there's what kind of an attorney would represent Scientology? This is Scientology attorney Bill Foreman on the left here, and this is the latest bullshit that they're claiming. So this is Tony Ortega speaking, we told you on Tuesday that Judge Upinder Kalra lifted the stay on the Bixler versus Scientology lawsuit and set a tentative trial date for September 2025. Let me actually throw you guys over here in the chat. See how you guys are doing, because you can read that, okay? So, but then on Friday, Scientology filed a pretty wild brief with the court that we knew you'd want to hear about. It was an objection to a, quote, request for judicial notice that was filed in August by the Bixler plaintiffs. This would be Danny Masterson's rape accusers who are suing Danny and the church, as we mentioned before, for alleged harassment and stalking, asking Judge Kalra to pay attention to something. What they wanted him to take notice of was what Judge Charlene Almeida did back in June when she sanctioned attorneys Tom Mesereau and Sharon Applebaum for leaking sensitive evidence in Danny Masterson's criminal case to the Church of Scientology. That evidence had been gathered by the DA's office and contained confidential police reports, emails, and other information about the Jane Doe victims, and the DA's office, which was obliged to share that evidence with Masterson's defense team, which at the time was made up of Tom Mesereau and Applebaum. Judge Almeida found that Mesereau and Applebaum violated a court order when they then shared that sensitive evidence with Scientology attorney Vicky Podboreski. We can tell you that the prosecutors in the case were stunned and outraged that the evidence had been given to Scientology, which was not a party to the criminal case. I'm certainly not stunned, nor many ex-Scientologists, because they have ways of doing miracles to get what they want whenever their name is brought into court, even in the slightest way. This is completely standard behavior for Scientology. I think the public and the courts are just figuring that out, particularly in the Masterson case. Continuing on. And Judge Almeida agreed, sanctioning Mesereau and Applebaum to the tune of $900 each. Now, I'm no attorney, but to me, that seems like a very small slap on the wrist for something that could have, and maybe did, completely jeopardize the case. As we know, they were unsuccessful in the first trial, and it took a second trial, bringing in more of Scientology and how they operate to get a conviction. We were in the courtroom when Judge Almeida made that order on June 7th, and it was Almeida's order and a transcript of that hearing that the Bixler plaintiffs sent to Judge Kalra in August, asking him to take notice of it as they now proceed with their civil lawsuit against Masterson and the church. Do you see how insane this is? Well, Scientology's not happy about that, and on Friday they filed a 68-page objection saying that Judge Kalra should not take notice of Judge Almeida's ruling against Masterson and Applebaum, and also that he should not take notice of the hearing transcript. And what is Scientology's reasoning, you may ask? They say that Mesereau and Applebaum did not, in fact, violate any court order. And the proof of that, they say, is that the Jane Does have been leaking information about the case to the press for years. Examples they submitted as exhibits included stories you've seen here at the underground bunker. Wow. So we want to make sure you understand what Scientology is saying here. They're asking Judge Kalra to ignore the fact that two officers of the court, Tom Mesereau and Sharon Applebaum, were sanctioned, only $900, for leaking sensitive prosecution records to the cult of Scientology that included private information about the Jane Does, because the Jane Does themselves decided to share information with the world about what they had been through as rape victims, something, of course, that they have every right to do. The really strange thing is that Scientology appears to be making the same arguments that Mesereau and Applebaum's attorneys did during the June 7th hearing, and that didn't succeed with Judge Almeida, arguing, for example, that there was no court order that Mesereau and Applebaum violated when they leaked the info. Mesereau and Applebaum might have made those kinds of arguments themselves in an appeal of Judge Almeida's ruling, but they dropped their appeals and the sanctions stand today. But here's Scientology taking up their cause and essentially smearing the Jane Does for speaking up for themselves. What a bizarre court document this is, even by Scientology standards. By the way, just before we go into the court document here, I just wanted to show you that, let me pull this over here. This is not to be confused with yet another, there's so many lawsuits going on. This is not to be confused with Jane Doe 1's other civil lawsuit where she alleges that alleged Sea Org groomer, Gavin Potter, who you see here on the right, she was sexually assaulted by him, had non-consensual sex with Gavin Potter, and she's suing him, David Miscavige, and the cult of Scientology. So that's another ongoing civil suit. There's so many. I'm trying to keep track here, or allow you guys to keep track so you don't get too confused. So we're just going to go over some of the details of this latest interjection by Scientology. As you can see here, the plaintiffs are the very brave Chrissy Carnell Bixler, her husband Cedric Bixler Zavala, Jane Doe number 1, Marie Babette Reales, and Jane Doe number 2. And the defendants are the Cult of Scientology International, RTC, also known as Religious Technology Center, Cult of Scientology Celebrity Center International, the elf David Miscavige, and the rapist Danny Masterson. So I'm going to leave a link in the description box because I don't want to go over all this gobbledygook that Scientology writes, just the pertinent information and some of the exhibits, which are quite telling. And then we'll end off here. So right here, this is what they're basically claiming in a nutshell. The church defendants reasonably contend that the court's findings are erroneous. The criminal case order does not justify any order or statute that prohibits the sharing of the Masterson criminal discovery. No such prohibition exists. According to the criminal case order itself, there was no protective order entered in the Masterson criminal case or any other prohibiting the disclosure of discovery materials. This is all justifying why Scientology was able to illegally have the materials leaked to them. In fact, proving that there was and is no prohibition on the sharing of the Masterson criminal discovery, the plaintiffs themselves, and possibly others, disclosed materials from the Masterson criminal case to the press, including pages of police reports, audio from phone calls recorded at the behest of and provided to the LAPD, and a letter from Jane Doe number 1's mother, which are all part of the Masterson criminal discovery, have appeared in the press and on Twitter. That's an Exhibit A, and they have up to Exhibit G and all this gibberish. On March 3rd, 2017, an anti-Scientology blogger by the name of Tony Ortega dared write an article containing an image of the first page of Miss Bixler's police report and Jane Doe number 1's police report, and posted them on a file-sharing website called Scribd.com, Exhibit B. Mr. Ortega's March 3rd, 2017 article also contained numerous excerpts of a complaint letter that Ms. Bixler wrote to the LAPD Chief Beck concerning a detective on the case, Exhibit B. I won't read all these, but like I said, they're all in the exhibits that I'll include in the link. On May 18th, 2023, Leah Remini, an anti-Scientology television personality, posted a copy of a March 11th, 2004 letter from Jane Doe number 1's mother That's part of the Masterson criminal discovery. And we read that out in a previous video. It's quite telling and definitely implements Miscavige, the cult leader, as knowing all about the Danny Masterson rape cover-up. On June 16, 2023, Aaron Smith Levin, another anti-Scientologist with a YouTube channel, played excerpts from a recorded call with a witness, Damian Perkins, from the LAPD investigation on his YouTube channel, see Exhibit E. And on June 16th, Ortega dared to publish an article containing a witness, Damian Perkins' statement from the LAPD investigative file. And they say here at the bottom, nor can plaintiffs claim that the subject matter of either this case or the Masterson criminal case are confidential or private. That's basically it, except, like I said, it's just more gobbledygook justifying why it was allowed to have these materials illegally leaked to them. Let's throw out the names here of the attorneys for Scientology. So we have their names here. So this is dated September 25th, 2023. Jeffer Mangles, not to be confused with Joseph Mengele, Butler and Mitchell LLP, Robert E. Mangles, Matthew D. Hinks, and the Matthew D. Hinks is the attorney for Defendant Religious Technology Center, also known as the Cult of Scientology. We also have Winston and Strawn LLP, William H. Foreman, Margaret E. Dayton. Now let's take a look at some of these exhibits which were dared to be quote unquote leaked out. So here's the scribbled one that they were talking about that Tony put out. Let me pull up here. Victim B police report redacted. Again, link in the description if you want to see the fine detail. Our sleuths, armchair attorneys, and real attorneys can take a look at some of this interesting information. Here's apostate Leah Remini, suppressive person, posting on Twitter, now known as X. For the first time, I'm publishing an internal Scientology communication that Jane Doe #1's mom sent to the midget, seeking justice for her daughter after she was raped by Danny Masterson. Instead of protecting her, Miscavige tried to destroy her. So she's named in the exhibit. Then we have Aaron Smith Levin. They posted his videos. They got the live chat over here in the exhibit, as well as the actual comments themselves. And this is from recorded call leaked about Scientology's lawyer, the aforementioned Vicky Podboreski. I'm sure she's a sterling individual just doing her job. And then they include news articles saying, look, it's all over the news. How the Church of Scientology went after Danny Masterson's rape accusers. Let's see if we can find more from Ortega in here, because he's named many times. Let's see what else we got. Just more news articles and such. I mean, they really did their work in terms of the exhibits. And they have a picture of them themselves. Another Daily Beast article. Let's see. Let me just scroll down. Okay, in Exhibit B, we have Victim A police report, which was redacted. They're claiming that's all public record. So what's the big deal? I think we have a couple more here from Aaron and perhaps Leah. More scribbled articles. I mean, it just goes on and on. So here's from the underground bunker. They're saying, look, this was already out there. The LAPD probing Scientology and Danny Masterson for multiple rapes, cover-ups. And notice this was in March 3rd, 2017. And this alleged harassment has been going on even before then, that these victims have had to allegedly put up with. See if there's anything else in here. Oh yeah, they're showing the that's the DJ Donkey Punch. I forget who actually, LAPD probing Scientology and Danny Masterson for motion with the underground bunker. That was how to get into one of Danny's shows back in the day. And as you can see, he looks like a queen there, and he uses the moniker DJ Donkey Punch, which I'm not going to repeat here. And more Tony Ortega blogs. Exhibit C, more Masterson stuff. Okay, that's about it. I don't need to bore you with it. Like I said, there'll be a link in the description box. But like I said, this is just the beginning. This is the second motion. There'll be fucking 100 more before, if and when this actually goes to trial. And when they do, like I said, I think they're going to pay him an enormous sum of money, because they sure as hell don't want any of this information coming out. Just scrolling through here real quickly, my friends, before I roll out of here, if there's any question marks that you guys threw in here. I don't see any. As usual, there's so much going on with Scientology. I'm sure there'll be more. If there is more news later on today or tonight, I'll keep you up to date. Thanks for joining us this early this morning. It's 8 o'clock here in Los Angeles. Enjoy the rest of your week and Monday morning. And until then, as always, try to stay safe, try to stay sane in this mad world, and most definitely stay cult free.
Hard physical labor and intense ideological study are used to break the subject's will. Or is that the truth?